Hello again, everyone. Looks like it's that time of year. I'm going to talk about the customs that I made for the first half of 2024. Starting out, I'll just start with a couple of quick hits, just some like repaints and simple ones that I started out the year with. First up is the vulture figure. I wanted to make a more modern take for vulture. I saw the Falcon MCU wings sitting next to the body for this vulture figure that I never did anything with, and I thought maybe I could make something happen if I just added a couple armor parts and played around with a couple of cool green paints. Maybe I could, make it look a little bit nicer, and yeah, I think it came out looking pretty good. Next up is the Hope Summers figure that I found was having a hard time standing on my display. I realized it could use some more sturdy body parts, so I swapped out the arms, lower torso, and upper legs with the shriek parts, and then just swapped some of the Hope Summer accessories back on and gave everything a nice new metallic emerald paint. And yeah, happy with how it came out, and obviously she's much more sturdy and stands better now. Another figure that I really wanted to try making on a Shriek body mold is Mercury. A couple cool parts came together here, and figured I could make it work and finally have a use for that rogue head that I don't think most people really liked. But yeah, I think it works really well for Mercury. I was happy to add her in with some of the other new mutants. I realized I didn't talk about the Chameleon figure because basically I just gave him a paint update. He used to be blue and I painted him purple just to make it look a little more like the animated look. Next up is the modern Scarlet Witch costume that she's wearing. This is my first time trying out fabric on top of an enamel paint. The enamel paint tends to be a bit tacky, so you can kind of like stick and hold fabric around certain places to make it look a little bit better. I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. It's definitely something different for me to do. I really like this modern costume for Scarlet Witch, and definitely looks cool on my display. Next up is Sin Eater, and boy did I mess this one up. I definitely used the wrong head, and I ended up needing this head for another custom later on that I'll talk about, but I wound up making the correction. I found myself the Union Jack head that definitely lined up much better for this custom. Just came out so much better after I made that change, and yeah, happy to add this guy in, and definitely looks cool on my Spider-Man shelf. Well, after seeing how sturdy the last couple female figures came out, I decided this poor thing with the warped legs really needed to get updated as well. And I like the look. I just said, "Oh man, I can update this. I can pop this onto a Shriek lower torso and give it maybe a little bit better paint and have a more sturdy looking figure that's not all warped and gummy legged." And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this came out, and definitely stands much easier, way better, and isn't warped at all. Next up, we have the House of X costume style for Jean. One cool thing about some of these new figures that Hasbro's given us, the two head sculpts, which allows us to get our creative juices flowing, and we can kind of look at it like, okay, well, I got an extra head, maybe I can create an extra character. So after getting the X-Men animated Jean, I took the extra head and started getting to work on the look that she had on this most recent run. I used some cool paint tricks here that gave it kind of a color changing green in some areas, and I added a yellow cape only because in a couple of issues, I think with like the Hellfire Gala, she was seen with that yellow cape, and I thought it kind of looked cool and gave the character a little bit more. Next up, just a really quick modification to the animated Goblin Queen, just to give her more of the comic look. So just a head swap and a little paint, and this one fits in really well with Brotherhood or your bad guys display for your X-Men, or even on the X-Men shelf too. But yeah, this was a quick and easy one, and I've seen a couple other people do this, and I think it looks great. Sticking with the theme of the Brotherhood, I couldn't believe that I still had a really old, I think it's still Hasbro, but there's a bad Quicksilver was on display with my Brotherhood team, and I was like, oh man, I gotta update this. I gotta get a new body style, and maybe go with his actual green costume that he had with the Brotherhood. So yeah, I just Started working a little bit, sculpting over the MCU Icarus head to make it look more like Quicksilver's hair, and just some cool green paintwork over the Sunfire body mold. I think this is a Despair body, which is awesome for painting. It's like it was made to be painted. It's got like kind of a matte finish to it that just takes the paint so well. So this one was pretty easy, and I think it looks awesome on display. Now switching back to the animated series, after seeing Morph turn into Angel and the way he looked on the show, I said, "Oh man, that's the look I want." Um, I got my Red Angel in from Amazon, I want to say, and the paint lineup was all screwed up on it, and I was really upset. And I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna throw them on display, but I'm gonna make my blue version." So I grabbed a discounted Star Lord. That's on the Vulcan body. So yes, he does have butterfly articulation, which, yep, I was able to add the old school Toy Biz metal wings to the back, and I'm really happy with the way this came out. I think it looks awesome. I've got him soaring above my Sentinel on one of my X-Men displays. Another character that I got inspired to make based on a House of X look. I think this is the best that Kitty Pryde has ever looked. I think this is the coolest costume they've ever given her. I saw this and immediately the Elektra, the new Daredevil Elektra figure popped into my head, and I said, I think I can make this. And I wanted to add some soft good parts to it, like the hood and maybe like the hood straps. Um, and I was just like, I can do this. This is going to come out pretty good, and I think it'll be easy. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way this one came out. It wasn't a whole lot of effort to get it done, and looks awesome on display. Next up was the Extremis repaint that I knew Hasbro was going to do, but I figured I could beat them to it, and I also assumed I'd probably end up using better paints, more metallics, and make this thing actually look better. And I think I wound up being right because I saw their release and was like, ah, man, I'm just going to stick with what I did. I'm not really happy with the overall outcome of the star because I sculpted it on top of enamel paint, which makes it really tricky to do anything with it, but I think it's good enough. The paints certainly stand out enough for me on display to make me happy, so in the end, I'm fine with it being in the Dark Avengers display. So next up is, oh yeah, so remember when I said earlier I had that head sculpt all wrong and I needed it for a different character? This is FoolKiller, and this was the tracksuit mafia mask that I needed for FoolKiller and not for Sin Eater. So I'm glad I corrected that because I definitely needed to repaint it for this guy here. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way this came out. I saw this image from the comic art, and I was like, man, I got the parts for this. Like I can see it. It's the Scientist Supreme body with all those armor parts and everything. I can paint the colors and make it look pretty good. And yeah, I'm happy with the way this came out. FoolKiller is definitely one of those characters I like doing these with the armor and weapons and stuff. Came out pretty good. And last up, but certainly not least, was the Madam Masque that I wanted to make. When they released the G.I. Joe Scarlet figure, Madam Masque popped into my head, and I said, oh man, this is going to be easy. This is literally just like repainting and maybe adding some cool parts. I used a old Brie Larson head sculpt where I think she looks a little manic, and I said, man, she looks a little crazy. This is going to be perfect, and painted it gold. And yeah, this was a kind of cool thing to do, and seeing her next to the Madam Hydra or Madam Viper, I'm kind of thinking that figure needs an update, which is kind of sad because it came out recently, but I kind of want to update that body as well. But yeah, kind of cool to see these two next to the old figures in their old packages, and yeah, happy with how this came out. And like I said, this was a pretty easy one because that Scarlet figure was pretty much it. So that was the last one for the first half of 2024. Stay tuned for second half of 2024. Obviously, that's going to be another 6 months away, but I'm still working like crazy. I still got a lot of things on the table, a lot of characters and figures that I'm looking at, so we'll definitely have more customs for you. And if you're not following me on Instagram, you really should be because you're going to see everything there first. You don't have to wait the 6 months like you do on the YouTube. On Instagram, everything goes up pretty quick, and I'm always throwing up all kinds of fun stuff. So check me out over on Instagram at Old Man Legends, and thanks for watching.